Thank you so much, Austin, for joining us here at the Dwellynn Show. I'm Ola Dantes, your host at the Dwellynn Show. I cannot wait to dig in today with you, Austin. Thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on here, brother.
Awesome. So I'm sure you can do a way better job than I can, Austin. Can you just tell our Dwell listeners a little bit about yourself, kind of what you've been up to lately?
Yeah, absolutely. So, normal average 23-year-old kid, living here in Phoenix, Arizona. And man, I was kind of forced into it. It's kind of a long story, but, I grew up in my grandpa and grandma's garage, started the pool company. And man, I was making a lot of money by the time I was 10, 11, 12, all the way up until about 15. And, got into the corporate world at 15, 16 years old, got just some normal, typical jobs, kind of got forced out of the pool industry when the market was tanking and, worked many, many, many jobs. I had actually a total of 19 jobs actually from the time I was like 15 to 19. And I never got fired or anything like that. I just, I hated being told what to do, when to do it, when to show up for work, how much money I was worth and all that good stuff. So, ultimately I ended up just kind of going through the motions and quitting, every time I had the opportunity to go to the next job. But, got into network marketing. Again, I still had that entrepreneur spirit from the pool company that I had for all those years. And, man, that's what really opened my eyes to now, I took the pool company, I had the freedom, I had the entrepreneurship to be able to do what I wanted, when I wanted, but I never made I made really good money, don't get me wrong, compared to the normal average person, but I never absolutely crushed it, and when I got into network marketing, a lot of my buddies were absolutely crushing it. On another level, and, multiple six figures a month, some of them 6 figures a week. And, it was really cool to see that at a young age. And so, built some fairly big, organizations, and then got into real estate, man, at 19, as you probably know, and started out wholesaling, wholesaled probably, I lost track somewhere, but between 300 and 500 houses, over the course of the last couple of years. And got my real estate license at I think I was about 20 years old when I got my real estate license, maybe going on 21. And, won rookie of the year at my brokerage, and, really just took off. I had a lot of amazing mentors, throughout my life. And, yeah, it's really cool, but that's kind of a really long story short. So I can let you, if you want me to expand on anything, I sure can.
Yeah, thank you so much, Austin. That was a really, really good intro. There's a lot of stuff that I really want to dig in there. There's a lot of stuff. How many houses did you say? Was that 30 to 50? Or houses did you
300 to 500.
What?
Yeah, 300 to 500. Yeah.
Wow. So we definitely need to get the tricks and the tips that you need to show us to be able to do this. So first things first, right? You've been working since the age of 10 or 12. So you've had this raw passion inside of you, right? What was fascinating when you mentioned that to me was, do you think having that solid foundation at such a young age is kind of what really helps you and drives you to this very day? Just having that strong work ethic. Do you think that helped you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, I think that's what made me who, I think that's always who I was, from a DNA, standpoint. But yeah, being forced into, because it's not something I wanted to do, by the way. My parents, it was they never really wanted kids, and they just weren't good parents at the time. And, we had a lot of problems. And so I ended up moving into my grandpa and grandma's garage, kind of long story short. I had an air conditioner in there. It wasn't a bad situation. It just, my grandpa and grandma had just gone through bankruptcy. So I had to, they said, hey, look, Austin, we're more than happy to put you in the garage and take care of you. And, give you a place to live, but, you're going to have to, help pay for electricity and help kind of pay for some food. And, and so my grandpa owned a pool company, and he said, hey, Austin, I'll teach you how to do what I do. And you're going to go learn this, and then you're going to do it for yourself. And so, but I enjoyed it. It was kind of a catch-22 because I had to do it, but I enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed making my own money, and I enjoyed spending the money too, because I was a kid, so I didn't know any better. But, I enjoyed all aspects of that, and I absolutely think that work ethic, carried all the way until, present day.
So fast forward a little bit, right? So you did the network marketing for a bit. you were making good money, your friends were making good money. Why real estate?
Well, I loved network marketing. I loved the industry and I loved what it taught me. Ultimately, it shifted my paradigm. Little did I know at the time, but it shifted my paradigm for the rest of my life. Because it was the things that I saw. It was the personal development that we had to go through. It was the people that we were hanging out with. And, it was a great industry. And I still love the industry with all my heart today. Cause I don't know that I don't know that I'd be here if it wasn't for that and those people and those situations. But I slowly fell out of love with the day in and day out grind of the industry, and telling your friends and family and this, that, and the other thing. And, I have, much respect for that industry, but I just was kind of looking for something different, and I think, I don't know. I don't think I knew exactly what, I knew I wanted to be successful. I always have been. I knew I would be successful, but I didn't know how at the time. And so here I am, 19, I'm working my 19th job, actually, my very last job that I've ever worked. And I was making great money at the job. It was Sears Home Services, and I was probably making 150-ish a year, give or take. But I was a workhorse, man. I was working 7 days a week, 12 to 15 hours a day, and no days off. I just worked all the time, man. And it was a lot of physical labor, really tough, intense physical labor. And so I just was hungry for something new. And, I Googled, real estate, and I was just kind of looking on the internet, like wholesaling and some different things. And one thing kind of just led to the next. And I just kind of fell into it. I got a mentor. And I think that mentor is kind of what changed everything for me. I was shown how to do, how to wholesale. And, one thing just led to the next. Once I got taught wholesaling, I was like, man, real estate is the most time-tested, proven industry on the face of the planet. I liked the fact that I could look at it, I could touch it, smell it, feel it, taste it, and it wasn't going anywhere. In a lot of these other industries, I don't know that I could say the same.
So for some Dwell listeners that are listening to our conversation, they're like, oh, Austin, what is this wholesaling thing you're talking about? Like, I've never heard of it. Maybe they're just starting their journey. Can you just tell us what wholesaling is?
Say that last part one more time.
Can you just tell us, so if there's a Dwell listener listening on our conversation and they're like, what is wholesaling? They've never heard of that term before.
Yeah, so essentially wholesaling is just where you, I guess easiest way to describe it, and I could go into more detail, in another video, but would be that you go to the seller as the buyer, quote unquote, and you essentially get the property under contract at a significant or deep discount, right? For whatever reason, by the way, it could be any number of reasons, divorce, or they got inherited it, or they, it just needs a lot of repairs. There's a lot of reasons why a seller would need to sell at a discount, or a deep discount below what the actual value of it could be. You put the property under contract as the buyer. During your inspection period, where you have a period of time where you can get into the property and do your due diligence, you essentially reassign your contract, your rights as the buyer, to an actual different buyer, an end buyer that's actually going to close on the deal and rehab it, or keep it as a, some sort of like maybe a rental property or something like that. And you essentially assign that contract at a discount. So the difference between deep discount and discount is where you create that arbitrage, and you actually, create that fee, that a wholesaler would receive, for his or her work.
All right. Thank you so much for that. So if I'm also a Dwell listener and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking of real estate. I want to get in. I want to jump in. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I'm Googling stuff. I'm reading books. I'm listening to podcasts. Nothing is happening. What would you say is the first step? I want to ask you something about mentors, but we'll get to that in a minute. But what would you say is the good first step to really get into that industry?
Yeah, a couple different things. I think number one, I've always kind of been drawn to it, is always in some way, shape, or form, have some sort of mentor. Figure out a way to and I understand that everybody doesn't, someone might be watching right now and say, well, Austin, I don't have a ton of money. And that's fine. I get that, but figure something out. You know what I mean? Like maybe don't get as expensive of a mentor, or find someone that's willing to help you, or maybe collaborate with you. If you close a deal, you guys split the profits, 50-50 or something like that, or go intern for a mentor. Go find somebody in your local market that's doing what it is that you want to do, and go to them and say, hey, look, man, I'll work for free. What do you want me to do? I'll get you coffee. I'll wash your car. I'll do whatever it is that you need me to do, and learn. Because I think, a lot of people, they have like all this random information, but they just don't know what to do with all this random information. And at some point, you don't need any more information. Like, you just need to go do it. So having a mentor, and then I think that kind of leads into what I was just saying is just go do it, man. Like, a lot of people are like, they get so caught up in trying to get everything perfect. I'm not kidding you. I've opened escrow on a real estate deal with a napkin from McDonald's before. I went to McDonald's. I didn't have a contract on me. I wrote out, I'm going to buy this for, whatever a paragraph. And I went to the title company after that, and I turned in the napkin at the title company with an earnest money check, and I opened escrow. So, the moral of that story is, you don't have to have it all figured out. At some point, you just have to take action. Be okay with the fact that you might fail, and just fail forward.
I love that. Failing forward. So somebody just has to basically maybe look for a mentor, right? That's a fast track way. I just want to ask a second question on top of that. There is a huge hype around mentorship, especially paid mentorship, right? In the real estate world, right? People can charge you between, $1,000, $3,000 to like $50,000 or $100,000, right?
Yeah.
If I'm somebody that is willing to pay that kind of money, right? Do you think there's a cap, like, to paid mentorship, or do you really think whatever you can afford, just go all the way if you think you can afford it? I'm just kind of curious where you're at.
Mm-hmm. I think that as you progress through life, regardless of what industry you're in or what it is that you're trying to achieve, I think a person should always have a mentor or a coach or somebody to hold you accountable and help to that next level. So, I would say, like, if you're just starting out, you don't need to spend $100,000 on a mentor. At that same token, if you're making, $100,000 a month and you're making really good money, then I think you could go invest, in a mentor of that caliber, and assuming that, it all made sense and they have their, they're at the correct accolades and stuff like that to be able to actually charge that. There's something to be learned there too. So, I think, it just kind of depends on where you're at in your progression to success, and, don't go way in over your head. But that's why I even said maybe in the beginning, a lot of people are, I think the world that we live in, a lot of people are afraid to just put in the work. And, I see it time and time again, where, everybody talks about wanting to be successful and nobody's willing to do it, man. And it's just, it goes back to the intern thing. There's no reason that someone can't just go to a big successful person and say, hey, look, man, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Give me 6 months, I'll work for free. I don't want nothing. I'll be here before everybody else that you pay is here. I'll stay here later, and I'll work weekends, and what do you need from me? And a person could learn so much from that experience. And not only that, at the end of it, if you do it well enough, you'll probably end up with a partnership or some sort of job or mentorship, after that anyways, and it'll end up working out and being a win-win. So, I think just going out there and again, just doing it.
So I'm guessing, the way you started, you got a mentor and then you started kind of wholesaling, right?
Yeah.
And you managed to do, 500 of them, right? So far.
Yeah.
What would you say was your best deal? Can you just give us a story of one of your best deals, and how did you find the deal and what were the numbers on the deal? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. When you say best, I mean, like one of my biggest, you mean?
Actually, no, whatever you think is best, either way you define best.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because I think there's a lot of deals where I've made a lot of money, and then there's a lot of deals where I had to work really hard for the deal. And what's interesting is the deals where I've had to work the hardest to close the deal are the deals that I typically remember, and the deals that people find the most interesting, because the deals where I've done a lot of deals where they were way too easy, like way too good to be true. And, I closed it and I'm just like, whatever, that was easy money, and then I've done other deals where, and I never thought in 1,000 years I was ever going to get the deal. I mean, and I just pushed and fought and battled And finally, months, sometimes even years later, the deal would close. And those are the deals I remember. I remember this one deal, man, I probably called the seller. I don't know. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I probably called the seller 500 to 800 times. And out of those 500 to 800 times, I maybe talked to the seller, 2 or 3. So the other, however many times, that was just me leaving voicemails, and I would go knock on the door. And anyways, really long story short, I finally get them to agree to a number. It was like 8 or 9 months later after I made initial contact. So, I mean, I followed up like for every day for like 8 or 9 months straight. I finally got to the point where they're willing to take a number, and, and it still took like another month because, there was all sorts of different things. He inherited the property, and the guy didn't have his driver's license. Like, I had to take the guy to the DMV because he didn't have a car. So I had to pick him up, drive him to the DMV, pay for him to get a new driver's license because he didn't have the money, and just all sorts of crazy stuff. And, I just remember all the details of that deal. I ended up making like $90,000 on the deal, a wholesale deal, so, but, looking back at it, it's like the amount of work that I put into that deal. They were like, Austin, like that deal's never going to close, man. Like you just got to like stop calling them. Like, they're not going to answer. You're not going to close the deal. I think at one point, my business partner told me just to not worry about the deal. And, I just, a part of me, like, I'm very competitive. I wanted to prove to myself that I could pull it off. And I did. I pulled that deal off. And looking back at it, man, I'm glad that I did, because, a lot of that is just confirming that anything's possible.
I mean, 800 times, and then you only spoke to the person twice. I don't even know what conversion rate that is. That's like 0.004.
Terrible.
So my next question, before we go into the quick run, is where do you get this unrelentless, overly relentless passion, right? To basically make this many calls. I mean, how do you do this?
You have to say that one more time. You cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, how do you get this relentless passion to call somebody that many times?
Yeah. So where did I get that? Like, how am I able to do that? Yeah. So, man, I mean, for me, motivation and all this stuff it's like bathing. You've heard it before. I've heard it before. And, people think that they just like do it once a week or once a month or when they feel like it. And the reality of it is it's an everyday thing, and every day I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm always doing interviews like this. I'm always, surrounding myself with people that are doing better than me, people that force me to level up. And, I'm just constantly putting myself in situations where I have to learn, I have to grow, I have to be better, and I can never stay the same. I can't stay stagnant. And, that's just really it, man. It's just, I think there's a part of it that, people just have. And then I think you can teach part of it too. But the only way that you can teach it is if someone really wants it, and, man, it takes a special kind of person to really want it too. Like, for the people that are listening, like, if you have it or not. It's one of those things, like, there's no questions, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, you either have it or you don't. And man, even if you have it and it's not all there, like, the rest can be taught. But like Eric Thomas would say, man, like, and it's so simple, but when you want to be successful as bad as you want to breathe, that's when you become successful. And, it's really, really simple, but, it's really, really true. There's not a day that goes by where, I don't want to be successful more than I want to breathe. Like, I literally want it more than oxygen. And that's how important it is.
Love it, Austin. That's a good one. That is a good one. So we're definitely dwelling into the quick round. So these are going to be quick questions, quick answers. You ready?
Yep.
All right. First question. What makes Austin unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
Man, I'm not that smart. I got a 1.7 GPA in high school. The one thing that I am is I'm willing to outwork anybody. Somebody can sit right next to me, it's smarter than me. They got a better GPA, higher this, higher that, higher whatever. If they challenge me, they put me up to a challenge and say, Austin, you can't, or someone tells me I can't, I will win by outworking them. Flat out, just straight up outwork everybody.
Nice. Second question. What was the last book that you read, and what was the one thing you learned from that book?
Man, I actually just reread Dale Carnegie's, gosh, what is that? It's the really good one by Dale Carnegie.
How to Win Friends and Influence People?
How to Win Friends and Influence People. What's funny about that book is in the front of the book, it says to leave the book on your desk. It's on the first page or two or something like that. And I did that for a long time. And so it's like my 7th time reading it, but I love the psychology that Dale Carnegie has in that book and just human behavior and stuff like that.
So last question, you've got, the Cactus team, you're, all selling 500 homes, you're hanging out. I mean, I checked you on Instagram, you're doing a bunch of stuff, you're speaking, you're traveling across the country. What do you do for fun?
Yeah, man. Well, what's interesting about that is I love to work. So, what this right here, what we're doing, I enjoy this. This isn't work to me, man. This is, I'm in my living room right now. And in my penthouse, I'm on the 26th floor of my penthouse, and I can see I have 360-degree views, and I'm enjoying life, man. I really genuinely enjoy this. It's a lot of fun. The first part is I love to work. Working isn't really work to me, and then the second part is I enjoy spending time with my friends. My close friends and my close family. I don't have a lot of people in my inner circle, because as you become more successful, your circle gets way smaller. But whatever that looks like, man, if we're just going to go to Top Golf and play some golf, or grab a drink, or smoke a cigar or something like that, just kind of relax, hang out, brainstorm, I really enjoy that quality time.
Fantastic. So if I'm a Dwell listener listening in our conversation, as a fly on the wall, and they're like, I really love this Austin guy. Maybe they're in the Phoenix market and they want to reach out to you, or maybe somewhere in the US. How can people connect to you? Where are you best active? How can people reach out to you?
Absolutely. So I'm really big on Instagram. I'm on Instagram every single day. I'm getting big on YouTube. So depending on when people are listening to this, I'm growing on YouTube every day. Obviously Facebook. Those are the 3 main ones, but it's just at Austin Zaback, AUSTIN ZABACK on all platforms.
Austin, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really, really appreciate you, taking time out to just chat with us here at the Dwellynn Show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on here, brother. And man, you got some really lucky people that listen to your show, because you're an absolute beast. So hopefully people got a lot of value out of this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome.